Justin, tell me about this project of yours. I'm so excited to hear about it. It's amazing. I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you. No, this glue trap kind of was a result of necessity. My partners and I had a different film we were trying to make. It was going to be a sprawling urban epic that we were going to shoot all over Virginia, and we had our table read for it on March 2nd, 2020. So that was no longer going to be a plan. And so my parents have a cabin in the woods. I know a bunch of talented actors, and just sort of thought of a project that could use all these things. And, Glue Trap kind of came out of that. And it was interesting, because I had so many details decided by necessity, the whole thing kind of sprung out of my subconscious. So, there's a lot of past relationships in this film. There's a lot of anxiety from 2020, but just also lifetime anxiety. And yeah, just happy to get the film out in the world and, get people to get a peek at it.
Yes, well, Buffy's trying to say she's a fan as well, and she's proud of you too.
Oh, that's good to hear. I'm a fan of all cats.
Nice. So, how are you involved in it? I know you said you wrote it, you were the screenwriter and the director, or the producer, or a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. Sole screenwriter and director, but also produced the film out of necessity, along with my partners Norse Gunchin and Christopher Fox and Sarah McFarlane. And yeah, we I kind of was the first person and last person involved with the movie as a result.
It's incredible. And what inspired you to write it? I mean, I know you got a little into it before, but what was the initial inspiration?
Initial inspiration, I guess, aside from what pop movie can I possibly make in a world, in a global pandemic, I'd say honestly just sort of inspired by making my type of horror movie. Like I was drawing a lot from American independent horror, like the early films of Ty West, slow burns like House of the Devil and The Innkeepers, but also a lot of American independent film from Black filmmakers like Losing Ground, or there's this Charles Burnett film, To Sleep with Anger, that kind of plays with that discomfort of having a guest who won't leave. And, because I knew I was going to make something pretty cheaply, it was the kind of thing of like, okay, I'm not going to have a lot of gore. I'm not going to have a lot of kills. So how can I make people uncomfortable? And, apparently just people talking in rooms is the way to get that across.
Nice. It sounds like you're a big fan of B horror movies and B movies.
Oh, I'd say so, but those are less the ones I'm drawing from because I feel like the B movies I love usually tend to have creatures or something like this. And from this, for Glue Trap, drawing a lot more from also like European cringe comedies and just kind of like things that are about the human condition and people kind of who can't get along but are forced to deal with each other.
And that's all it is. Other than the pandemic, what would you say was the biggest challenge about making the movie?
Um, I think just having never made a feature film before, I've done a lot of short films and I've directed a lot of short films, but this was my camera for most of them, and I think it was just honestly learning to manage a group of people and guide them. And I've probably ranked myself as a screenwriter maybe here, and as a director I was here and I was learning a lot on the go, and thankfully I knew the one thing I could do is surround myself with people smarter and more talented than myself.
And what would you say is the one scene, without giving too much away, you're looking forward to everybody seeing the most?
um there's a moment in the middle of the film where I'll just describe it as people talking about a short story, and that is the scene that has been the most exciting to me from the moment when I wrote the first draft. I was like, okay, this scene is a reason to make the movie. And I remember when we had our friends and family screening, and it was the first time watching with a group, I could, obviously that's going to be a group that is going to be very friendly towards the film, but you can fake laughs, but you can't fake tension. I could feel everyone just kind of tighten up. And so I'm really excited for that scene to get out there.
It's incredible. Tell me a little bit about the casting, because you have a wonderful cast. How did you choose them, and what lessons did you learn from them throughout the process? Like, did they teach you something, anything important?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it was interesting because compared to other departments, the cast is kind of everyone has their own way of approaching, and as much as they are a part of the crew, and to treat it the same as you would a costume designer or a composer, there's a bit of alchemy and magic involved in the work they do. But casting was interesting because I'd actually written the two leads for different people because colleagues of mine who ended up having to drop out of the film. So when we had to recast the roles, it was kind of okay, these roles were written for specific people in mind. But then the actors we ended up bringing on, Brittany Bradford and Isaac W.J., they brought so much of themselves. They brought so much I hadn't even considered on the page. And it was just fascinating of like having them breathe life into these roles that were, while they might have been meant for other people, they absolutely owned them, and they were able to take them to a world I never imagined.
Nice. And I go back to my the second part of my question. What was the most important thing you learned? Or, you know how they say people teach you lessons throughout each part of your life? What was the most important thing you learned from maybe a cast member or crew member throughout this process that you're going to take away from you?
There's a friend of mine, longtime friend, was an executive producer on the film, and he's a CEO of a tech company. But he taught me something that I've thought a lot about since, and it was helpful on the film, and it's been helpful in life. And it's that you don't have to treat difficult conversations like difficult conversations. And that mindset for any time there might have been a hiccup or a problem on set, it's like I can just approach this like anything else. I don't. It doesn't have to be hard.
I like that. I like that. That is one that we really do need to learn. And now I learned something from you, and I appreciate that. That's amazing.
Oh, of course, happy to spread the good word.
Yay. And what's next for you now that the world is getting ready to see this?
Well, I have this home invasion thriller I'm really excited about. It's set in Greenwich, Connecticut, and it's using a lot of my climate anxiety and also my time on Succession. And it's a, satirical horror film that I'd love to make. It's called The House is on Fire. And I've also been developing a political satire with Eric Schultz, a political consultant I met on Succession, who's been with Obama for 13 years now. And, that's something in early stages, but, got a few things cooking.
Yeah, so tell us about your time on Succession. I mean, congratulations on the show's success. It's an amazing show. So tell me a little bit about how you got involved in that and some of your experience.
Yeah, no, it's great. I was on the show for the back half, the last two seasons, and I got involved because I'd worked on another HBO show, The Plot Against America, from David Simon and Ed Burns. And I think it was seen as, oh, I'm in the HBO family at that point. And Succession was looking for someone to consult and do research, so I did that. Season three was a fun ride, but also entirely a laptop jockey role because of the global pandemic. But season four was interesting because I got to be a lot more in the mix, and it ended up building out the election plot line and covering the whole episode on set. And so that was a really exciting experience, along with also, as a nice Jewish boy planning out a Catholic wedding that ended up having got 700 people on set. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. There's no, I've worked on a lot of great shows with a lot of great people, but there's no group of writers I found who will try to keep things as close to reality as possible. And they always, it's a lesson learned in that, whatever idea you have, you can throw it out to try and make it more realistic, because you just have to trust that you'll be able to make that work as well.
That is very, very true. And what would be your dream project to have? If you could have any kind of project, writing, directing, acting, anything like that, what would be the dream role, dream project that you would work on?
I mean, I think I would love to write and direct more films, and hopefully with a little more money each time. House is on Fire is a home invasion film I'd love to make, but I want to make a shaggy mystery. I want to make a romantic comedy. I have a Western that was on the GLAAD list last year that I'd love to make. I love the sandbox of genre, and I want to just keep making movies in it.
Great. Now, would you, have you ever acted? Would you want to star in any of your projects?
No, no, I'm very happy being behind the camera.
No, I get it. I get it. I understand. And speaking of TV movies, what are you watching these days?
Oh gosh, what am I watching these days? What have I seen? Oh, I saw this movie Reality with Sydney Sweeney that was on HBO. I thought that was incredible. The one about Reality Winner, and it was a case in point of working within limitations, because the entire screenplay for that is based on FBI transcripts. And I just thought that was a brilliant film, and likewise another single location movie. What else? I've only just recently been catching up the final season of Better Call Saul, which I love. I'm really partial to con artist stuff, and yeah, I think those have been the big things. I feel like I'm mostly playing catch up with films of late.
Nice. And one thing I like asking people I interview is tell me a fun fact about yourself that may inspire your fans, that may surprise your fans, rather.
Oh dang! I should have come in with this. I guess a fun fact is that my great uncle was the curator of a museum in New York, and I think that created a great love of art from even before I was born.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. So, yeah, I could definitely see where you got that from. That's amazing.
And I'll try to think of a better fun fact to keep in my back pocket for the future.
Okay, I'll tell you what about this. Maybe an inspire. When I was a little girl, I was convinced I was going to become a Harlem Globetrotter.
Ah,
I
I
saw
think you still might have a chance.
I'm 4'10". There's no way.
All right. Well, you can play for the Washington Generals then.
There. Because when I was a little girl, my mom took me to see them, and I was so inspired by them that I decided I was 3 years old, mind you, that this is what I was going to do with the rest of my life.
Oh, well, hey, life is long, and I think you still got a chance.
Yeah, I'm 39 now, so yeah, it could happen. It could happen.
Definitely.
Great. Well, Justin, it was a pleasure to speak to you. I'm proud of you, and good luck with everything.
Thank you so much, Sammy. It was lovely speaking to you as well. Hope you have a
Likewise,
wonderful
we'll talk
evening.
again soon.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. So Justin, nice job, and nice to actually see you. Uh,
Likewise.
you know,
Yeah.
we